Choosing a wedding venue is harder than it seems. So it's one of the biggest decisions you'll make. So you don't want to have buyer's remorse or regret signing on a dotted line with the wrong wedding venue. Don't make these common mistakes. So let me show you what you need to do so you don't have buyer's remorse or regret, and that you've chosen the right venue for your perfect day. So one of the biggest mistakes couples make is choosing the wrong wedding venue, not doing their research or understanding the best options that are available to them. So let's get into 4 reasons why you need to make sure you're choosing the right venue for your big day. So if you're new to my YouTube channel, thank you for coming here today. So I'm Kim, the hostess with the mostest, and I come from a long line of party planning people. I planned my first event on a playground for a friend who was moving away in elementary school. Yes, elementary school. Well, since then, I've gone from planning juice box parties to over-the-top orchestrated events for many clients. And nothing excites me more than helping clients get down the aisle by eliminating all the stress and fears associated with wedding planning. So what am I here to do? To help you make the best decision so you can have the best day of your life on your big wedding day. So thank you, but make sure if you enjoy these tips and you want to learn more to like, subscribe, and share at Girl You Can Plan It here on YouTube and on all other social media platforms. So let's get into the reasons why making sure you choose the right venue is important on your big special day. So don't make this mistake. Mistake number 1, not considering your guest list. Before you roll into any venue that you see online or in person, or you remember you went to a wedding there and you thought it was the best venue ever, before you step out anywhere, you first need to create a guest list. Now, you may say, how do I do that? How do I know who to invite, not to invite? We have some great tip sheets. Make sure to click the links in the bio. We have one that helps you, free tip sheet that helps you eliminate the guest list. Like, who do you invite, who you don't invite? And I've talked about it in other videos before, but if you have to look people up, probably should not be on the list. If you have to call somebody, get somebody's number, probably shouldn't be on the list. If it's someone you work with and you don't associate outside of work, probably should not be on the guest list. So again, first, before you can even create a budget or do anything or pick your venue, you first need to create a guest list. I would suggest that you do 2 lists, list A and list B, where you put the priorities. So guest list A would be your immediate family members, your siblings, close friends and family that are always in your phone that you talk to all the time. And then list B would be associates, school friends from elementary or high school, college friends, but you may not talk all the time. And then you build your list from there. So again, guest list is the most important before you even go look at a venue, because you don't know what size you need. You don't know which venue will make sense. You don't know if it can accommodate all the things if you're doing one location. So before you can book a venue, you need your guest list. How do you know what venue to book? How many guests you're going to invite? You know, the logistics of it. So don't go to a venue first without creating a guest list, and prioritize it by guest list A and guest list B. A is probably people you're going to keep. B are the people you're going to start eliminating from. Okay. So again, don't make your list too big. And I know some people come from huge families and you're like, oh, but I have a big family, so my guest list A is bigger than my guest list B. Well, again, guest list A is siblings, parents, grandparents, maybe godparents. Everybody else falls on list B. Cousins, distant cousins, co-workers, somebody you went to elementary school with, your best friend from high school. If you haven't talked to them in 15 years, they're not your best friend. In high school they were, but they're not anymore. So you definitely need to put them on what? Guest list B, guest list A are your top priorities of people. And that's going to help you in determining what size venue, the logistics of it, all that included. That's going to help you determine the best list option when you know who you're inviting and how many people you have to accommodate. Okay? So that's number 1. And topic number 2 is 1, ignoring the venue's hidden costs. And when I say by hidden costs, it's not understanding the cost that's not upfront. It's kind of like, I like to explain it like buying a house or a car. Yes, you see the sale price, you see the ticket on the car, and it's saying this car retails at this price. This is the market price, right? Then you sit down and you're going to finance it, whether you're paying for it in cash or you're financed through a finance company or a credit union. And then the dealership throws all these other costs on. And you're like, wait, I didn't know about that. Kind of happens sometimes with certain venues, even all-inclusive venues. So one of the things you want to always make sure you're asking the right questions and you're getting all the details and understanding. Is there gratuity? gratuity separate from the price per head. Because what I see a lot of couples do is say, oh, I can afford that. That's all it is per head. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and book it. They don't create a guest list, they book it, and then they realize, oh my God, I didn't think about that. Either the venue is too big or the venue is too small, and now they're paying too much money because they didn't think about the guest list and they didn't think about all the costs associated with that guest list and how many people they're inviting. So now they're upside down, they're upset, just like you would with a car. Same type of scenario. You have to understand. We have a great venue comparison sheet where you line up the questions, each venue side by side, and then when you get all those questions answered, you can compare and say, oh, this doesn't make sense or this makes sense. Because sometimes we have glossy eyes and glitter and we're like, oh, I love the venue, but we didn't think about all the costs associated. Just kind of like when you walk on a car dealership. Oh, that's my dream car. But you didn't think about the maintenance. You didn't think about the upkeep period. You didn't think about the insurance. You didn't think about all the things associated with that vehicle, including those taxes, license, title, all that stuff that's associated with it. So you have to think about that when booking your wedding venue. You always have to think about the hidden costs. So make sure you click the link in the bio and get the venue comparison sheet when deciding upon picking the right venue and asking the right questions so you know what costs may pop up on you later. Number 3, forgetting about the flow of the event is huge. I cannot say that enough. So many people will book a venue and not think about the flow of the day. So what I mean by that is, let's say you decide you want to get married at one venue, one location. You have to think about, okay, am I getting married outside? If the weather is inclement, it's snowing, it's raining, what do I have as a contingency? What's the backup plan? Is the venue large enough to accommodate everything inside one space? If you're doing a cocktail hour, is there enough time to flip the space and then guests go out to another area? You have to think about all of that logistically. Does it make sense? Do you have to use 2 locations? What is the cost to flip the space? Is there enough time? Will I have to get 2 additional hours into the budget? Sometimes people say, well, I have the venue for 4 hours, but you've invited 300 guests to move 300 people, repurpose what was used during the ceremony, put that back in the reception space, and do all of that requires a lot of manpower, labor, and now it's going to cost you more money on that. And then where are your guests going to go? Can they all fit into the overflow space? Can they fit into the cocktail hour space? Is it outside? Is it inside? What if it rains? All those things matter. Do you have to pick something up that's going to take a little more time to move? So those things matter when booking a venue. So you have to think about that. That is most important. And I have that conversation with clients very early on. We talk about what their expectations are, what type of wedding they want. Do they want something more cocktail style? Are they doing a plated sit down dinner, buffet? What are their expectations? Because all of that goes into picking the venue. You just can't go and get excited about the where it's located, how it looks, because logistically it could be a nightmare, especially if you're in one location and especially if you're doing an indoor outdoor option. So you have to think about that. Booking the venue just because it's pretty and not thinking about your guest count, the hidden costs, and thirdly, the logistics is a nightmare, not only for you financially, also for planners and vendors, because some vendors have to stay around, which is going to cost you more. You have to lift and move things. And if weather is not your friend, or it requires going from one floor to another, from a base floor to the 3rd floor rooftop, all of that can be a logistical nightmare. So you have to think about what you're going to do on the day of your wedding. As far as the type of experience you want to create for yourself and your guests, you need to make sure your venue can accommodate that. That is a huge thing. A lot of people don't think about this, especially in the beginning, because you're excited about it and you haven't talked about decor yet. So a good planner will make sure that's the top discussion before contracts are signed, because all of that is important before you even talk about decor. And first you have to look at your guest list, and then second, you definitely need to decide, is this venue going to work for me logistically before I sign on the dotted line? Because you could be making a huge mistake and then have a budget that is blown because you didn't think about that. Okay. And then the 4th topic is overlooking venue restrictions. So a lot of people fall in love with a venue. It's your dream venue. You went to your friend's wedding there. It was so pretty. It was all the things you could dream about. They had the garden outside, there are water fountains, a staircase, chandeliers, whatever. It was wonderful. But did you think about the restrictions? So I tell clients all the time, I even put in a contract and make them sign by it and we discuss it. You have to think about that. If your venue does not allow for candles and you purchase a huge candle package, there's nothing that the vendor can do about that. That is the vendor's rules. What are the restrictions or requirements? Do you have to have insurance for the venue? Some venues require that you buy additional event insurance or bar, alcohol insurance. They may even require that all your vendors have additional insurance policies. So let's say you're hiring your cousin to be the DJ and he does all the music for all your family events, and he doesn't have a license and you're not really paying him much. Who's going to pay for the insurance? Is that you or is it your cousin who's the DJ? So you have to think about that. What are the restrictions as far as decorations? Can you bring in your own flowers? Some venues don't allow fresh florals, or they allow you to bring them in, but you don't have enough time for setup. So that's important. If you're going to a venue, you have this big idea of all this decor and all these things you want in candles, that requires a lot of logistical load in and load out. And we call that production costs. So, how much production time are you allotted? Some venues don't care if you can pay for the extra time. They only allow you a certain amount of time, especially venues that have multiple weddings in a day. You need to think about that. A lot of your all-inclusive venues sometimes have multiple weddings in a day. And if that's the case, and they say they don't like a lot of change in decor because they're waiting on the next venue to come in, then that's an issue. If you want to bring your own chairs and they say, no, you have to use our chairs, that's an issue. If you want to bring in a dance floor, some venues don't allow custom dance floor. Some venues don't even allow you to bring your own DJ. You have to give them a music list and they play the music for you. So you have to think about that when going to these venues. What are the restrictions? Can you bring your own planner? Do they allow you? You have to use their on-site coordinator. So you have to think about that. Can you bring in outside food? Most instances, it's a no. But you may say, hey, I have this favorite dish. So, you have to think about those special things, food restrictions, if there's certain things you just don't want, cultural things, certain practices, you need more time for certain customs or rituals or ceremonies. Will the venue allow that? If you're LGBTQ plus, do they cater to those type of options? Are they vendor friendly? Are they LGBTQ plus community friendly? Those things are important. So when booking a venue, you need to know the restrictions of that, whether it's a legal case or not, or whether you can fight it or not. That's who wants to deal with that on a wedding day. Go where you're appreciated and go where you can spend your money. But if you want to bring in a lot of customization, some venues don't allow for that and they don't allow time. And then again, like we talked about logistics, elevators, rooftop, do they allow sparklers? Can you bring in, the cold sparklers? Can you do all those things? Can you drape from the ceiling? All of that is important. And I will tell clients when we talk in the beginning, before we book venues, we ask those questions. That's why the venue comparison sheet is really important. When clients book with me, that is one of the first things I give them, and I tell them to bring it with them when we're on site looking at venues, because these are things you need to ask. Can you bring in these things? Are there restrictions? If you're bringing an outside catering, do you have to pay a plate fee? Those are things you need to ask and know before you book a venue. And I can go on and on and on. But on my venue comparison sheet, it helps you ask those questions that you just don't think about unless this is something you do all the time. So make sure you understand what the restrictions are before you sign on the dotted line, because you could be falling in love with your dream venue, but your dream venue is not allowing you to have the things that you've always envisioned and cared about. So just booking a venue because it's pretty, or maybe you can afford it, or your mom got married, your dad got married, or whatever the reason is, if your vision is different from what they're allowing you to do, then that's probably not the best venue for you. So you definitely want to make sure, because sometimes they may not allow you to bring in certain vendors, and now you have to sever a contract with a certain vendor. So all of that is important. So make sure that you understand to ask those questions before you sign on a dotted line. I cannot tell you how many times clients have signed before they book with a planner, whether you can afford it or not, or they sign without thinking about it because they just didn't know. So I'm here to help you, girl. You can definitely plan it. So the common thread here is, one, remember to do your research. Remember to do your guest list first. That's going to help you determine the venue. 2, don't ignore those hidden costs. Ask those right questions. 3, make sure you're thinking about the flow of the venue, like how the logistics, how the timeline, how you want the wedding to flow that day. And last but not least, asking the right questions so you can understand what restrictions exist, so you're making the best, most informed decision before you sign on the dotted line. Just remember, your venue sets the tone for the experience you want to create for yourself and your guests. By avoiding these mistakes, you're picking the best venue and you're creating the best experience for your dream wedding. So remember to follow us for more DIY wedding tips, or if you're trying to decide if you want to hire a planner, follow us for all those tips. Make sure that you buy our ebook, our checklist. We have free checklists for you, things that will help you. Make sure to follow us, like, and share for more wedding tips, because guess what, girl? You can plan it. See you next time on Girl, You Can Plan It with Kim. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe at YouTube at Girl, You Can Plan It. See you next time.